Welcome to the Challenge Chronicles. I'm Devin Jordan. I'm with Trace Armstrong and Rob McIntyre. We're here to discuss episode 17 of the Challenge Spies, Lies, and Allies. We wanted to give a shout out to a few of our patrons, George Mitchell, Eric Robbins, John McCarthy. Thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. It helps keep the show going. If you too would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/the Challenge Chronicles. We'll also leave a link in the description below and subscribe for $4 per month. And that gets you essentially one extra bonus episode per week. Right now, the bonus episode consists of the recap for All Stars 2, which we're about to record tomorrow. The recaps for All Stars 2 normally comes out on Friday mornings. It's going to be a little bit later in the day. Trace has already seen All Stars 2. He said it's incredible. Rob and I have not seen it. We're excited to watch it. Alas, we're here to discuss Spies, Lies, and Allies, episode 17. What did we think?
So Devin tweeted out yet again, I outperformed everyone but the four-time champ last night. Do we think that might be an issue in the coming episodes that four-time champ is still around?
Dude,
they're insane.
Dude, I texted you guys about this last night. It was minutes into the episode, and CT talked about how he's never won 2 in a row, and they give CT the footage with his family, and I'm like, oh my God.
He's winning. He's winning. I don't know what this final format's going to be now. Like, I
think that's the only question, right? Because maybe it's pairs and he gets screwed up by that. Is the only thing.
No, I think he's winning. Like, regardless of what.
Well, I agree. I'm just saying that's the one thing I think that could trip him up. But like, yeah. That is the one thing I did get right, by the way, is that it would go back to individuals or pairs. I just stand for him.
We don't know that yet. We just know they're getting rid of 2 people. We don't know that for certain yet. We'll find out next week on that.
I suppose they can run like 2 teams, I guess. But if you're down at 8 and you're going to run in 3 teams,
I think they should do 2 teams of 4. I think that's the way you go because they need new champs. I mean, if they're going to do what I'm hearing rumors of,
that only gets them 2 more people though, compared to if they wouldn't do it, right? Because they'll have a male and female.
I mean, two's a lot with the way they have the numbers right now.
Yeah, but I mean, the way that people keep dropping out of the show and never want to do it again. I mean, how much does that really help them?
Seemingly everyone who gets the champ title ends up persona non grata, especially on the female side now.
Yeah. But either way, I thought the episode it was good. Okay, like
I thought it was even a little bit down from the past 2, to be honest.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw a lot of people say that they loved this episode. I like the one last. I thought I liked the one last week more than I like this one. I mean, what happened this week? I mean, not much.
They literally like in the house. They're just airing like Tori and Nelson and Logan talking over lunch because nothing else is going on.
Yeah. The big thing about this episode is I felt like it's a serviceable end of the season type episode. It's getting us to where we need to be. That is kind of where I landed on it, and it served its purpose. And it left a really good cliffhanger because they've never done this before. And it's actually a cliffhanger I'm a fan of. And so to me, it was a serviceable episode that now makes me as a fan want to tune in and go, what the hell are they doing next week?
I mean, so what are the possibilities? Like, I just think that, but like, they've done like purges and bloodbaths before. Like, that's not unique. I'd be surprised if they go to a different route.
If I had to guess, they're going to set up some type of a puzzle type thing, and they're all going to have to work it. And the bottom male and the bottom female are getting cut.
I don't know.
I think even if it's like they vote somebody in, like that's what happened with Landon and Diem on Duel 2. Like that's not unique. I don't. Maybe they'll surprise me. I don't see what's the route they go. That would
trailers can be deceptive, but what I infer from the trailer is it looked like more than 4 people were lined up to do something in elimination gear. So my hunch is they're all going to have to participate, and it's some type of a every person for themselves or maybe a pair type thing. And it's probably a puzzle because they're in that. There's no way they can do a physical thing with everybody there.
It could be, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a puzzle. I mean, when you look at Survivor, they have a lot of individual immunity challenges where everyone competes at once and it's not
stand on this thing for that long.
Yeah, who wants it more type challenge, which they don't really seem to do on the challenge very much.
The one they did tonight, I actually think was pretty close to that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that was
was.
actually a really good elimination like idea. Like it actually worked. I really was a fan of how they did it, and who knows how long they were actually doing that for.
Yeah.
I will say this with the elimination that they had last night and the mission that they had last night. Both of them were good as a concept, but I didn't need to see it for nearly as long as they showed it. This is the pretty much perfect example of half as long principle, right? If this was half as long, I think I would have enjoyed it much more.
I really think they didn't have anything else to air tonight. It seemed like nothing happened.
I know, it's fucking insane. Like, it's maddening, dude. Like, don't show us an hour and a half of this then. Cut it down. Like when we had the bullshit fucking dinner, right? I mean, what happened there? Absolutely
That's
nothing.
literally nothing. I mean, I would have honestly preferred to see that a little bit more, just because like we can just, yeah, I'm sure at least some of them have funny jokes, right? Like I mean, like I just
Of course, we capped the season off with 2 more rookies going in. So that's emblematic of the season as a whole. What else happened? Like, what were the
I was like, so in the beginning of the episode, we have like what seems to be all the guys besides CT and maybe Emmanuel playing pool, and they're all talking about how Devin brings up how this format's actually like an advantage for he and CT, especially CT, because they're like more valuable to their team. And then it still seems like Nelson's the only person who realizes that CT's having him around is an issue at this point, and they should be trying to get him out.
Did either of you think that Logan would pick Nelson to go into elimination with after the entire episode they were building up Nelson talking about how he doesn't know if he can trust Logan and
I thought it was a
he doesn't want to get
possibility.
stabbed in the back? Did you think that would happen? I thought it was going to happen.
I
I didn't think it was going to happen, but I thought it was a possibility.
I didn't even.
So,
think
I
it
mean,
a
Emmanuel was
possibility.
probably the worst person to go against in that elimination, to be honest. I think Logan smokes Devin if he takes him.
Kyle
Well, I think-
mentioned it to CT when they saw what the elimination was. Why did Logan take him?
I think it was politically based. I think that Logan was looking at it like Emanuel and I really haven't worked together in this game, whereas some of these other people I have. So I would rather, again, they're thinking too far down the road
Like
next
Devin,
season.
Devin seemed like he's tried to get Logan voted in a couple times. I thought that was the
Yeah,
play. And that's another thing where, like, if CT did go in tonight, he probably loses this to a lot of them.
No, it's very possible, but he was not eligible, which we'll get to. I think the other thing too is Logan probably knew in a physical elimination because of his hamstring, he didn't think he might be able to pull that out if it's a long endurance type situation. And he and Emmanuel were like made friends during this season. So I think it was a way of ensuring his friend stays.
I mean, he could have ensured that his friend stays by picking someone else.
By not voting
But that's
him
the
in.
thing. It gives Emmanuel the choice of, do you want to go be with Uncle CT or, it allows him to make a decision and control his own
I don't know.
fate.
I think we're overthinking. I think he was just the rookie who hadn't been voted in yet, and there is that weird loyalty to get mind warped into to put him in. I think that's what it was as much as anything.
It's
I think
possible.
I think that Logan just made a bad decision. I think that's what it
Well,
comes down.
that's true.
Well, that's evidence. Yeah,
It was the worst pick he could have made.
I think Nelson would have been fine at that too. He's always had pretty good endurance. I think Devin would have not been good at it.
Yeah, I think Devin is the only person he had a real shot at in that elimination because of his hamstring. Like he was.
Do you think his hamstring is so that bad though? At that
They
point?
said it in the episode. He said in the
Interesting
episode
scene.
that as he was like in the confessional, he's like, my hamstring is tightening on me and I'm in pain. And it was something like
I feel
that.
like that's like CT holding his back when he loses to Jay and Total Madness, where he's like trying to give off an excuse for losing.
Yeah, I don't remember the comment about the hamstring. I actually thought about that
it's
at one
there.
point.
It was there. I vividly remember it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought about during the episode about how we hadn't heard about that in a long time and about how nothing came from that really after they sprinkled it in.
They just did a poor job. To me, the more compelling thing to do from an editing standpoint was to have him talk about his injury prior to the elimination, because then it adds a little more intrigue, but that's just me being nitpicky on editing.
So 2 questions. 1, will he be on another season again? 2, do we want him to be on another season?
Possible. I mean, I definitely don't need to see him on another season. If he's like, but the thing is, I don't need to see him, Devin. But it's also like I don't know what we're working with in terms of potential cast members here.
Yeah, I would say yes, he deserves another shot. Will we see him again? Probably. Just because some of these other jamokes they've cast, he's better than a lot of them. That doesn't mean he's great, but he's better than some of them.
I think he's going to be on another season. Do I want to see him on a season? No, he doesn't need to be on another season.
But like, who are we comparing them to in terms of potential cast members?
Gabo.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously, is he my ideal cast? No, is he even in like the second level of that? No, but like, I don't know if those people are doing the show at this point.
They're not, but that's the thing, though. Like, you're comparing them to other jamokes they've brought in, like Mechi.
There isn't.
Yeah, exactly. Cameron Michi. Who do you want?
Michi. Who was the other guy that was the first in that first elim against?
Joseph Allen from
like, who cares?
America's Got Talent.
Dude, was Joseph Allen on this season?
Last season.
That last season.
Who was the first person that went home? Reina?
This season? Renan. Yeah. What about him or Renan? How are we feeling? He's a sex therapist. Seems like he could be useful in the house.
Where the fuck do they find these people, dude?
I think it's
Smacked your
agents. Like, I know you always revolted that. I really think that's what it is.
It's what?
Agents.
Yes, agents. We had this
What's your
discussion with Pat.
explanation then?
We had this discussion with Pat. The argument is settled.
What are you talking about?
On the text thread, we had this long thing where Pat like confirmed that yes, these people have talent agencies for this type of stuff, and some of them have individual representation. So it's a mixture of like a talent agency with a portfolio of people, and then there are certain people that have individual reputation that pitch them to these shows. He confirmed it. We've confirmed it.
And I think the latter is almost non-existent, right? Like if
not
you're
non-existent, it's just not
not
the majority, but it's not like it. I would say it's probably 60-40, 60 portfolio, 40 individual.
If you're an agent that's going around trying to pitch Logan, you're eating top ramen for dinner.
He won like Mr. Spain or whatever, didn't he?
Yeah, like he's got individual representation. And then you've got somebody like Emmy who does all this music stuff, so you know she's got individual representation.
Oh my god, dude! Emmy had a like peak cringe moment last night. What was it? I can't even remember. What was it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There were two moments when she burst into tears.
It was after they won the mission and she just starts screaming Uncle CT over and over. It's like, oh my god, like get her off the show.
They're hammering this one home.
Yeah, that, and then when Emanuel won, she like burst into tears and fell to her knees. It was two.
It's like someone shows emotion on the show at least, versus everybody else who's just pounding around.
It's just too over the top, and I get that I can't tell if it's a genuine reaction or if she's just playing
I think
the
it's
camera. Either way, it's annoying and it's cringy to me.
What did we think of the mission? Let's start getting through it, Rob. I
thought it was. I guess I thought it was fine. Like, I mean, the best part was also just CT smoke showing everybody. Like, just beat all the other teams by himself, literally.
It shows how bad the casting is when CT is way up here and everybody else couldn't even get really. I mean, I guess Emerald got close, but like,
Do you think when the producers cast a season, they think that most of the people on the season have a legitimate chance to win?
No.
Or do you think they're aware?
No, they are aware.
What are they doing? What are they doing? Like
personalities. They make movies.
I think I see. The thing is, Devin, if you push back on the agents, what's your explanation for the cast?
They're trying to get people with big social media followings.
Why won't they have agents if they have big social media followings?
Say that again?
Why wouldn't they have agents if they have big social media followings?
Because there isn't enough money in it for the agents. So I think this is like the big let's just briefly cover what we talked about before. When we're talking about like agents, like I know that like there are these people out there that essentially have like phone books full of these people, right? Like people that you can go to and like say, I want to buy like 10 million followers on Instagrams to post this. And then they'll go out and source a bunch of people that collectively add up to 10 million followers and have them post something. I think that exists. And I think that's probably
Devin's next marketing plan for our show, clearly.
Say that again?
I said this is your next marketing plan for our show, clearly.
No, this actually performs very poorly when I've seen people do this in the past. It does not back out at all. Actually, maybe in one case I've seen it do somewhat okay, but yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. I think they want to try and build out social media followings. I think they want to try and bring in other shows. This season specifically was the attempt to bring in other countries. I would definitely want to hear from them if they feel like they at least accomplished that, right? If they were able to achieve that goal. I don't know what the perception of this has been like in other countries. Do either of you know?
No clue. I mean, and like, it's possible it did okay in other countries. Like, I really don't know
Yeah.
what the marketing's been like. In Romania, seemingly they have 2 people left in the final now. It should be popping over there.
They should be doing like live watch parties, like for the World Cup. Cut to a Romanian bar with 3 drunks sitting there going, huh?
Man, this episode, I think it's been one of the blander ones we've covered, honestly. Like, I guess the vote actually was somewhat of a question mark. Like, did you think Logan was gonna get voted in? I thought it was gonna be Emanuel, but
I
have no idea.
honestly thought it was going to be Logan from the get-go. And the reason why is it's clear that CT, Kyle, Devin were in an arrangement of some kind. And it was either going to be Nelson or Logan, and then we fall back on the rookie versus the veteran. So even though they're not working with Nelson, they're not going to backstab him because they've been doing shows with him for so long. So Logan was the only choice they were going to potentially put on the table.
Who do you, Rob, if you're CT, who do you put in?
probably Emanuel, if it's just purely game focused.
Over Nelson?
Well, if I put in Emanuel and it does stick with teams, then I have a hard time. Let's say he loses, like that would be your goal in putting him in.
Yeah.
Like, it's Devin with Nani, Casey, and man, I'm not scared of that team in a final really at that point. And then the
If
other
they don't
team
have
is,
Emmanuel?
yeah. I think he
Why?
is a significant asset for them. I mean, in all the running competitions, he's been like first or second every time they do one. And he clearly can carry things pretty well too. He's very agile. So I think he'd be a pretty big value for them. And then the Ruby team are looking over them at that point. I have like Nelson, Logan, Tori. Maybe Logan can solve some puzzles for them. But like, I just think you're such a clear favorite at that point. And then even in an individual, I think he's out of the 4 of them, he has a skill set where I think it could be concerning for CT in a final. So
This is definitely not going to go down to teams, especially after next week when they plan to take out 2 more people.
I have a hard time seeing it.
I don't see how the numbers would work out then, because at that point there would essentially be 1 person on Ruby, potentially 1 person on Sapphire.
It could be 0 on Ruby, right? It could be Logan and Nelson go home. I mean, Tori and Nelson go home.
Yeah, Sapphire or Ruby could be completely eradicated from the game.
Yeah. I think if they do teams, I think we're looking at 4-on-4 and they'll randomly figure out, or they'll have them just
maybe
pick or something stupid like that. But I mean, Spies, Lies, and Allies. I think Rob, at the end of the day, I might be wrong because I think I had the bet that it was going to stay team. So I think I'm going to lose that one. So I think I owe you both $10 on this one.
Yeah. Chips away at my other loss.
Yeah, you've got a huge loss to Pat Mayo coming. It's probably going to go individual. I just don't know that they're going to keep the pairs together. I think it's going to go individual, and it's going to be 1 male, 1 female winner. So you're probably looking at CT and either.
I mean, I do think the female side is interesting at that point because it seems like Amanda's the. I think Amanda's the only one who does puzzles though, and I don't know how are the rest of them going to hang.
Well, we're not talking about how they would actually perform. What I'm talking about is what we've seen from the edit, and I think they even sprinkled it on a little bit more tonight with Tori.
I mean, I've had her winning pretty much the whole season too.
Yeah, where Tori talked about how she talked about how her relationship with Jordan. I mean, they kind of went through her whole history on the show almost, didn't they? She talked about how
they didn't touch on like her dirty 30 run.
That's true.
Much, but
it wasn't.
They talked about her time on the show, or her relationship with Jordan, how they broke up, about how she wants to show people that she can do this on her own, like without a man. It really seems like they're teeing it up for that. Like, why would they need to put that in there? You know what I mean? That wasn't related to anything that happened the rest of the episode. She didn't go home. It's just,
and they've been doing that for the whole season.
I agree. So I mean, I think they've really kind of tipped their hats with Tori, and I think we ultimately see her win, because let's go over the women's side at this point. We have Amanda, Emmy, Casey, Nani, Tori. I see 2 people there that I think are
Tori and Casey. That's it.
Yeah.
And like, My thing is just from a pure logic perspective, like just in terms of if you're making a show, you want to build that relationship with someone who's going to turn into a satisfying winner. Like if Nani wins, like they have a clear, that's just Nani in that segment, right? Like they have a very clear way to do that with Nani. She's been on the show for however long, show her progression through the thing. We've seen Kate, we could do it with Casey too. She's been on 3 seasons now. She's gotten to the final the first 2, has failed, wants to show she can approve, be one of the best challengers ever. Like they can do that segment with anybody. I think they do it with Tori. So I think the fact that she got it's very transparent.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can do it with anyone, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, they can fabricate this stuff out of thin air.
Yeah, I mean, they
really
kind of
want to.
did with Emanuel talking about, he wants to bring his mama home, even though I don't even understand that, because it sounds like he's trying to bring her back to Romania, but he grew up in Romania. Like, but are they not in Romania? It was very,
it wasn't very well
confusing.
explained on their
It was
part.
very
I was
poorly
confused by that
explained.
too.
Really? It sounds like she lives there, and he said that he wanted to like pay off some of her debts, right? That's what I was.
Well, no,
That's
he
what
kept
I-
saying bring her home. Like it made no
Oh,
sense
really?
what he meant by
That's
bring
what
her
I
home.
heard too. And maybe we just like the subtitles misinterpreted what he said, and then
No. That's
something
exactly
happened
what he said. That is word for word what he said. Is he wants to bring his mama home. I don't know what that means.
The thing that I thought was so stupid was in that same conversation where he talked about that with Tori. Tori you can tell the producers asked her to bring this up, and this was a completely staged conversation. Tori asked Emanuel if he won Survivor. Like she doesn't already fucking know that he didn't win Survivor, because then he said, no, I took second place. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like she didn't.
I'm sure
she
been
didn't
there
fucking-
that long and don't know that.
Yeah, they've been like
he didn't fucking win Survivor.
They've been in the house for what, 7 weeks now? And
9.
the 2 of them have been on the
9.
same team for a lot of it. We're sleeping together. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that never came up until now.
You know that they've talked about what the fuck he did on Survivor. Okay, like they
mean,
know
come
how
on,
he and Emmy know each other. They know this. It's all just staged bullshit.
The only maybe Devin, maybe that was from like the second episode, and or the second day.
Yeah, it could have been. They really could have sliced that shit in from 6 weeks earlier. You just don't know.
Well, they like completely glossed over some huge love triangle between Tori, Kells, and Emanuel. Then,
Oh, and Michelle. Remember Michelle and Emanuel? I think.
I mean, they really dropped the ball if that was the case.
Maybe,
But,
they'll have like a 4-person team season. They can be a team, the 4 of them.
Lies and allies.
Yeah, allies, lies, and spies. So we'll run it back. I mean, I think in terms of episode rankings for the season, this one's very, very low for me. I didn't think the mission and elimination were bad. It was just like, I mean, you can't give us anything in the house.
Yeah, I just, it was good. It was fine. Like I didn't have like major complaints about this episode, but it just was like, okay, I'm ready for this season to be done. I'm ready for this to go. I'm intrigued by what we are going to see in this purge or extra elimination or whatever the hell it's going to be. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see CT and probably Tori win. But it's time to end this season and let's take some lessons from All Stars, because I know I've said it. It's phenomenal. Like what I saw on this episode 4 of All Stars is what we want the show to be.
Rob, when we did our worst seasons of all time episode, and I ranked Spies, Lies, and Allies episode number 1, we talked about what would be the worst case scenario for the way that the rest of this season would play out, right? It's happened. CT's going to win. He's going to win, I'm assuming, without much of a challenge, because at this point, for the men's side, who's going to be able to challenge him?
Nelson's
And maybe
got the
Emanuel
endurance.
turns out to be a stud.
Unless Emanuel is a puzzle wizard.
Yeah.
I
He
don't
can
know.
run at least, clearly.
That's the
And
thing.
maybe,
like-
and again, maybe it's pairs and he like is with Emmy and Emmy flips out, or Nani's not up for it. Like something can happen, but it's
Will it
not-
happen?
No, it doesn't seem like it will.
No. See, that's the thing. And that is the one thing about everybody that's left on this cast, except for CT. They all have glaring deficiencies where if they're on their own, there's very little chance they're going to be
On the guy
CT.
side, you're saying?
Even on the female side, okay? Like, so let's take Nelson. Let's start him. Physically, good. Swimming is his weakness, but really where his hurt is going to be is puzzle checkpoints. If he's on his own, he in trouble. Devin, he's decent at puzzles, so he'll be fine there, but he'll be the last guy showing up at every checkpoint. There's no way he's going to outrun CT or Nelson or Emanuel. It's not happening. And then you've got Emanuel, who he's still a bit of a wild card because we've yet to see him do a puzzle. So we just don't know anything. His
That's
endurance
the one
looks
thing
great.
for me.
His endurance
'Cause,
looks
like,
great.
And yeah, and like we know
Endurance is
Kyle's
good though,
terrible at
too.
puzzles, but what's that, Devin? Sorry.
ET's endurance is good though too.
I mean, I think it can go up and down. He's had times where it's been bad in the recent past.
He looks in better shape than he's been
does look-
since Invasion, though. That's the thing. Like a motivated, in shape CT is a very dangerous guy to have in this final. And then Kyle has good but not great endurance, so he'll be like third place rolling into these checkpoints.
The thing is with Kyle too, like remember Rogan did an interview after Total Madness, and he said and Kyle was the last to all of the stages on the first day out of the guys that were there. Like he was well behind Corey, Fessy, all of them, and we know he's also terrible at puzzles. So I think almost out of anybody, he's someone who I might give the least odds to win out of the guys that are remaining. Again, like maybe the pairs shake out a certain way, and then it ends up that CT gets in a little bit more trouble. And like, I mean, Devin, he was kind of like it's not like he was like with Amber as they were running last year. He was decently behind her on most of the runs and was shaking behind. I just don't. The thing is with finals, more than anything, I guess, is that when a final is run, it's like usually finals are going to test a variety of skills, and then the person who's best like each of those variety of skills is going to come out on top. Whereas in eliminations, it's just one really specific thing usually that like anyone can lose at. And so that if you get to the final, the person who's clearly the best competitor is likely going to win.
Yeah, and that's why it's interesting to see how Casey's going to perform, because I feel like Casey is going to be fine on the puzzle piece of it. But because she had that knee surgically repaired so soon before the new season started filming, who knows if she had the ability to test running super long distances up and down elevation. So it could be a hindrance for her if she's bringing up the train with Nani getting in checkpoints.
I mean, finals really test two things. That's about it.
Endurance and puzzles.
And puzzles and
I
math.
mean, not necessarily. We've had plenty of finals where there's a lot of like your ability to like strength to move things as you're running.
When was the last time we saw one of those? That's still endurance.
Worlds too.
That doesn't count. Come on.
You got to go individual. You got to think individual-ish.
Because they had to like figure out something to like incorporate the whole team doing something together.
War the Worlds 1 would be
War the Worlds 1, and the War of the Worlds 1, there was also like all just dexterity-based checkpoints where you had to like bounce a certain thing, roll a certain thing. Memory was a factor, which could go along with puzzles. But it wasn't straight. Like I feel like a lot of that's just taking off the last two, which have been kind of a branch off. I thought last season's final was much better than the Total Madness one, but those two were both pretty. Like just run puzzle. Like that's not how they all are.
They also didn't show us the knife throwing on Total Madness, so there's that.
I mean that final just.
If we had to rank all right. So I guess first question: what do you think the implied probability for CT to win is?
60%.
I was thinking 70 to 75.
That's so high.
I know, but would you bet against that?
I wouldn't, but I'm not doing that again. I think if 55%, 50%, like I think he's the favorite, but my 70 is just so high. Well, we still don't know what this is there a chance they could like team up in this whatever this is that they're coming up on?
Totally.
Who knows? We'll find out.
Will they be smart enough to team up against CT, or are they still idiots?
No, they're still idiots.
We don't even know if it'll be more than a pair for each sex that compete.
That's also true. It could just be voting in who's going.
They said
in.
2 agents were going home.
I know, but that's what I mean. It could be a 2-on-2, or like a 1-on-1 for each sex, right?
They could trot out hall brawl and say, "All right, vote in 2 guys, go." And in which case, no one's going to want to go against CT, so it's going to be like Devin versus Emanuel.
Because like it could be just a vote. Well, I don't know.
It would have.
What do you think they would do if it's just a vote? Like, does Emanuel just get voted in?
Yes. No.
So they don't vote in CT at that point, you think?
No.
But like they did that to Landon on Duel 2.
But these guys aren't that smart. They're not Mark Long and Evan playing chess when everybody else is playing.
But you shouldn't have to be that smart. Like it's not like
they are playing the game emotionally. They have these emotional ties to these people. They're not going to do it.
what they're doing is they're playing to like push losing further down the road is what they're doing.
Yeah,
right?
that's a
They're
good.
trying
Yeah,
they're trying to delay the amount of time that's pretty much how you could explain the moves that they've made throughout this entire season.
Oh, yes.
Right. And they
They're
just want
just
to
hoping
keep losing down the road.
They're hoping some unforeseen force is going to come and sweep up CT at some point. Like he's going to break an ankle at some point.
Not happening. Not this time.
What do other podcasts think about this stuff? Or other podcasts talking about this?
That they ever should vote. Yeah, I mean, it's not like even like Corey Lay on Twitter is like tweeting out like, how are these guys voting in other Corey when CT and like saying other Corey is a big threat when CT is still sitting there? And it's like, very good point. Like, it's not hard to get to.
He can know that he wins too, right? In the same way that Devin in
hedging
podcast interviews has talked about reasons why they didn't put CT in.
But I guess my general thing at this point is like, I'm not crazy, right? Like it's not crazy to think that they should have been putting him in a long time ago.
Not at all.
Like that should have been what's going on. I'm not out of my mind for thinking that should be the case, and that the reasons for not doing so are largely inaccurate.
And we've talked about this. The amount of times that you put someone in, that person wins, comes back in the house, and then sends you in, we could probably count those on one hand.
And
right?
Also, like, how many people in the history of the show, if you put them in 3 consecutive times, do you think have an above 50% chance of coming out? I think it's like
out of those 3 consecutive times.
If this person's going against 3 random competitors 3 times in a row, how many people have an above 50% chance of coming out of that? I think it's like 0.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, that's
like,
a lot.
Stuff just happens, man, and like you just get a weird elimination that you're not suited for.
Because what would your implied probability have to be in one of those for it to be above 50%? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, it's like 80.
Here, let me look. 0.8 times point. So even at 80%. So if you're 80% better than each person you go against each of those 3 times, your implied probability is still 51%, right? And what person has an implied probability of 80% on average in an elimination?
It could be like Landon. Like if Landon goes in against a Hall, we've seen him lose before, firstly. And then if he goes in a Hall brawl against Fessy or even like Corey Lay this season, he loses. And like if the CT's elimination record isn't even that good.
See, I'm taking
he's bad at them. It just means that stuff happens.
I'm taking Landon against Corey Lay.
And Hall brawl?
Yeah.
Corey's big, man.
Landon's pretty fucking strong.
He's short. He's really short.
He's strong.
It would be interesting, but
it would be an interesting matchup that I would watch. Let's put it that way.
I mean, but you really think you'd have a good chance of losing, right, Devin? Like it's not a lock.
Correct.
Yeah. There's uncertainty in that result, which is what. So from an ideal standpoint, what do we hope they do next week? Because the way that I would hope it plays out is not just vote people in and here's an elimination. I would actually prefer them to do like a challenge, like an active, it doesn't necessarily have to be physical, but like some kind of an endurance or puzzle thing. And then the bottom 2 of each sex then has to do an elimination. Like make it so it's not just a glutchy purge.
Like they did on Fresh Meat too.
Yeah, like let them go in and whoever comes in last then has to do an elimination follow-up. That would be the way I would go about it. That way it's not just, hey, here's a blind side, fuck you, you're gone. It's like, okay, here's a blind side. You've got 2 chances to get yourself to stick around.
It's not going to be that. They don't have enough time in the episode because it seems like they want to do this and then.
And fairness is not their top priority. Trust me.
But see, here's the other thing, though. They do have time. They have 2 90-minute episodes left. They could spend the first 45 minutes doing challenge 1, elimination, lead up to the final, stage 1 of the final, end. And then the whole next episode is the rest of the final.
I'll say this done. For their standards, they do not have time.
I know I'm using fucking logic and not challenge logic. I'm sorry.
I don't. I think
last night and I think today I was thinking about how this season would be if all the episodes were 30 minutes long, including minutes. I think you could probably make it do a much better show if it was just 30 minutes like it used to be. And not to say that I do think that they should that, should do that. I'm saying that if they did that, I think it would be better.
I think if we had hour-long episodes, we would feel better about the season because it would feel like it's not dragging. I think that's the biggest issue.
My thing is, I really don't think the season's been bad. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I don't think
it's an unpopular opinion on our show. You go on Discord, there's several people that agree with you.
I really don't think it's been bad. Like, I don't think it's been nearly as bad as Bloodlines, Rivals 3. I don't think it's been as bad as there's plenty of seasons I think that are much worse than this season.
But those are all
okay, wait a second.
Those are all bad seasons, though.
Hold on. It's not better than Bloodlines. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Bloodlines has far worse competition. Okay. Far worse competition. Don't get me wrong. It also has the worst format where that I'm not disputing that. Rewatching Bloodlines, it's actually entertaining. Like there's some everything that happened with Cara, Abe, and Thomas is better than any drama that happened on this season. The Baker fight, Tony being insane. I mean, there's several things that occur. There's the Zach deal where he and CT come in, and then CT and Vinny get into it at the club. Like there's more entertaining stuff that happened on that season than this one. But competition wise, I agree with you.
I haven't rewatched in a while. I think if I went back and watched, I would think it's better than Bloodlines. The end of that season so bad.
There's only 13 episodes in that season too, and
they're only an hour apiece.
Well, regardless, well, my thing is, even if you shorten these episodes to 30 minutes, all the larger issues of this season to me are still there.
But they're less.
The passive gameplay is still there. The predictability of the rookies are going in is still there. Their current inability to see the impending doom that's about to befall them is still there.
Is there any other reality show that has this many episodes in a season?
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, competition
Below Deck is like 25, right?
Competition wise, maybe. But then again, that's America, because I mean, we even looked it up. Like Romanians.
That's very fair.
That's right.
Like 40. So.
Survivor Bulgaria, where the host quits halfway through the season, there's still 20 more episodes or whatever to go.
I mean, it was months ago Nam was on this season. Think about how long ago that was.
Well, think about how long ago it feels that even like Michelle and Corey Lay were on the season. They were such a big part of it at the beginning.
I looked online earlier, and there still is no speculation whatsoever for the next season. Right?
It's not coming for a while.
Yeah, it's not coming for a while. All Stars 3 is wrapped, and they're about to leave for MTV All Stars. Did you hear about this?
Oh, the premium show or whatever it is.
Yeah, but it involves no one from the challenge, but it's coming from the BMP studio. It's like they're getting people from the Jersey Shore, the Geordie Shore, and they're basically from around the world. Like they're basically grabbing a lot of the reality house members of like Geordie Shore, Jersey Shore. I think I saw somebody from Jersey Shore's on there, and basically it's going to be a challenge. It's on Bevmo.
Okay. I know the cast is out.
Yeah, the cast is out, and it includes no one from the challenge.
Is the situation on? That's all I need to know.
Hold on, I can check this because I have the link saved. Just a second. Oh, you guys can vamp while I pull this.
He just tweeted that he's like a couple years sober, so good for the situation.
Yeah, good for this. I want to see the situation do well. Who doesn't want to see the situation do well?
Well, I guess one thing with this mission too that bothered me is unless if they had some editing chicanery with how the teams went, Ruby knows they're 5 capsules down and they're not winning when Emerald is going. But Tori and all their whole team are still like, oh, we need to knock out Emerald so we have a chance to win. I'm like, you don't have a chance to win unless you can subtract capsules. I suppose maybe in theory that like CT broke some rule and they could have gotten DQ'd. But that was another thing I didn't get, where like Tori was like really ramming the stuff at them to try to keep her Ruby to win.
I was caught off guard by how bad Emanuel was in this mission.
I was too. This seemed like it would have been very much up his alley, and he didn't do great. Maybe that's part of what to incentivize Logan to pick him, is that he underperformed. It's something he seemed like he would be good at.
Do you think the mission was close at all, or do you think that they made an attempt?
I don't get. If they both got 7, what does it mean when you got 7 quicker than the other 7 if they both ran out of time?
I don't think they both did run out of time.
Yeah, they did.
No, because there were only 7 that they could return because each team dropped.
I know Emerald ran out of time. I thought CT ran out of time too.
No, so what does that mean then? They ran out of time right when they finished and got the max amount?
No, I don't know if that was how. I think they finished and they showed them running out of time. I don't know that necessarily they finished and the TJ blew the horn right then. I know he blew the horn on Emerald for running out of time. That I'm very confident in.
And so they just happened to get all 7 right before they ran.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it was right before. It could have been a little bit not right before, and then he blew the horn.
I don't know. Like what? I don't get what you're confused by, because they got the max amount that they could have gotten, right?
But
And
he said time, like you ran out of time at the end of it.
No, I think he's meant time in the sense that that's your time.
But maybe so then. And then the thing is, it would make sense that Sapphire would have beaten them by a decent amount, because if it's just CT going for Sapphire and getting them all the time, then Emerald's got to switch players, got to climb up the ladder if they get knocked down. There's more going on where CT's just going back and forth.
It was weird because they didn't show Kyle and Emmy jumping off in the same way that Ashley and Nani just jumped off repeatedly, right?
Or like when Amanda's like trying to climb up the ladder and then she's just not even getting up there.
So what happened there? Did they not enforce it with Sapphire, or I don't know?
I think because you could see Emmy at one point yelling for CT and she was on the platform, but it didn't seem like they made her go. I don't know. I was somewhat perplexed by what was going on with this mission. There were a couple of things I didn't quite get.
I really didn't. Through the first couple, it wasn't that bad, and then it really started to stretch on. If they kept that to 6 or 7 minutes, I think it would have been much more enjoyable.
Like, I know when Emerald's going, like, I felt like at a certain point, it's like they're still going, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, man, they haven't cut them off yet. We don't need to see them all go.
I don't know. There were some funny falls, weren't there? Devin absolutely got destroyed on one. Amanda crashed pretty hard. I thought it was hilarious when Tori falls off and Amanda starts to go off about die Tori and like F you, and I thought that was pretty good.
Maybe don't die, but I hope you're hurt really bad.
Their feud is so weird to me. Like, their whole thing is just be a confessional in Twitter. Like, I don't see them ever really arguing on the show.
I just don't care.
I mean, that's fair. But like,
you know, like, I don't
you'd
care.
You'd think we see some sort of disputes between them in the house. It doesn't even seem like they've gone at each other yet.
Yeah. What else?
I mean, like,
all right, so I have the cast of the MTV All Star shows. It's not the complete cast yet. So apparently they're missing several people. They think they're missing about 10, but Angelina from Jersey Shore is on it.
Yeah.
Bethan from Geordie Shore, Blake Hortzman from Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise, Candace Race from Floribama Shore, Chloe from Geordie Shore, James from Geordie Shore, Johnny Middlebrooks from Love Island 2.
I don't know any of these people.
Yeah, a lot of people we don't know, but then there's somebody from RuPaul's Drag Race on it too. But this is not the challenge spinoff show. This is like, hey, we see that the challenge formula works. Let's do a show with.
Is it a competition show?
Yeah, they're going to be living in a house and competing for money is the description.
Doesn't mean, but like, that could be Are You the One?
Yeah, but I think it's going to be some kind of a competition show. I don't know what.
We'll see what happens.
But either way, there's a member from the original Jersey Shore cast on it and Floribama, so your man Gus could have a gig here soon.
No, he's not. He's not being on anything in the near future. I can't imagine. We're not covering that, are we?
No, I'm not wasting my fucking time with that. If the situation's on it, I might watch it, but not cover it.
Yeah, I'm going through my notes of what happened this last episode, and Rob is right. I mean, not much happened at all. I feel like in the episode before, there were at least some unique moments.
I thought last episode wasn't bad. Like, I had plenty of notes last episode. Things were happening. And the episode before that, the episode where we have the Hall Brawl-esque mission with the dugout, and then everybody's running. Like, I thought plenty of things were happening the past couple of this episode. Nothing happened.
Yeah,
it
is what it is.
Yeah, because at the top of the episode, everything before the elimination was complete bullshit, right? We had the scene where CT talked with his family and talks about how he wants to win in a row for the first time. We got the scene between Tori and Emanuel, which was, I feel like were reading scripts before they went on and started to get filmed. We got, after that, the scene that we talked about with Devin, Nelson, Logan, and Kyle. where they were playing pool, talking about who they thought would go in, and Devin talks about how he thought he was a risk to get called out. And then we got the scene with Logan where he talks about how he likes to win. That's what happened before the mission.
Yeah, the thing is too, like people talking about, oh, I might be at risk. I don't find those conversations interesting if there's not active tactics being implemented. Do you know what I mean? Or if it's not like people trying to find a way to get out of going into elimination or get some specific person put into elimination. And it's just like, oh, I might get put in. Like honestly, the worst words to hear on the show are when somebody's like, "Oh, put me in, I don't care." Like that's fine. Like that's like the absolute. Like I can't stand when that's a point on the show because it just nothing's happening at that point. Like it's just a bunch of static objects that aren't moving.
Yeah. What else happened here? After the mission, Kyle starts screaming that he's a winner. That was somewhat funny. Yeah, Kyle talks about how he wants to protect Devin when really he talks about how he wants to protect Devin because Devin's protected him throughout the game. How much of that is he wants to keep Devin around for the final, though?
Certainly some. I think that I really think voting in Emanuel would have been the better way to do that, though, because I can't see Emanuel calling Devin out after their team's been so close for so long. Whereas Logan, I thought was more of a risk at that. But
A good point.
yeah.
Is there anything that you want to say about the dinner scene?
Nope.
I mean, what happened to the dinner scene? They didn't even show
Nothing.
them talking. Like that was the weird thing to me. There was just music in the background. We got like, oh, here's CT doing some weird karate stuff, and then here's the cast looking like they're like enjoying themselves. But there's not. It wasn't even like, oh, let's see Tori talking to Casey about whatever, or someone talking about something funny that happened in the house. It was literally like just music over it.
Someone should start taking the actual 90-minute episode and editing down into a 15-minute or 30-minute episode and seeing if they can make it much more enjoyable. And I will watch it.
Instead of the real one or along with.
I mean, I could probably watch it instead of, and we could still have the same conversations, I'm guessing.
It's even like a blooper reel they can air in the middle of this thing.
The nominations,
even at the deliberation, CT's yelling at Logan and Emanuel to start talking, and they're not doing anything.
We really just sat there. Nelson talked about how they had respect for each other and didn't want to call each other out.
God.
What else? Devin talked about how he has made a lot of friends that were in the agency. Yeah, they really didn't need a show. I mean, they were really stretching here. Now that we start to go,
like, how is there not even anything that's just like funny banter in the house they can air?
There had to have been. So did we have episodes this season that were 60 minutes like we did last season?
We had the one with the full Fessy Josh DQ that was 60 minutes, right?
Yeah.
When they had a Emmy released her new single on air.
God. We had
so they've pulled the trigger before. I don't know if they thought this was that bad though. And like I this to me was uniquely below other episodes this season. I thought it was bad.
What would you give this for a grade overall for the season?
The season?
Yeah.
B-.
Yeah, B-B.
Get that shit out of here.
I really just don't think it's been as bad. Like Trace, I know you disagree. I think it's well above Bloodlines. I think it's well above Vendettas. I think it's well above Rivals 3. I think it's better than Battle of the X's, for example.
So does every season that you have get a B-, Rob?
No, I think those seasons are much worse than a B-. Like I think Battle of the X's is like a D.
I think this is in that 20 range. You know, like it's late 20s, early 30s. It's not
better or worse than Double Agents. What do you think? I think it's better than Double Agents.
I think I need to see the season as a whole before I make that call because they're really close. But I think maybe Double Agents might be slightly better, maybe, but that's a thin margin right now.
Why?
I liked some of the casting decisions on Double Agents better than this show because this was like too many rookies. And I feel like even though there were rookies last season, you still had Darrell. You still had Wes. I mean, there was just some more interesting people I care about on my TV screen compared to this season.
Do you think like Wes is like kicking himself for not doing this season?
Oh, he might
I
have
mean,
run the table with CT.
Any veteran should be kicking themselves if they
But like, at a
didn't.
certain point, there's too many of them. Like if Johnny West, CT, and Darrell are all on this season, I can't like.
I mean,
are
if
they
Wes
all making the
agrees to
final?
if Wes agrees to come, I don't know that you see. Who do they bump? I don't know. They bump a rookie. I think they
You
would
don't think
wind
they
up.
like toss Jeremiah out of here? I mean, Nam was like not on the season.
They seem to really committed to having the number of.
The rookies. I would think
Yeah.
that they probably would have cut. I think Devin was probably the closest.
You
on
could
that
also just
chopping
say
block.
like, what if you just put him in the CT spot?
No, because they're not gonna not cast CT.
Like CT doesn't want to do it. I don't know, just hypothetically.
Yeah, I mean,
I just wonder if it's
plays
the same thing for him as it is with CT, where CT just don't care that he's around.
totally. I think it plays out very similarly.
Because it's not like people have an axe to grind with Wes or like here. Like
Well,
Devin,
they did in double agents.
but
And
it wasn't this, but like that was a lot of Cam, it felt like, and Cam's not here.
seemed like it had a lot to do with Nelson and Corey too. And Nelson and Corey had zero political swing this season.
Yeah.
There's been reports that Nelson was more involved than they're showing. And they've also never had an issue with Wes previously. I don't understand why last season there was a unique axe to grind with him. And we know this season Nelson was apparently trying to get rid of CT put in, and then nobody else would do it.
All right. We have a
Is
listener
Wes as big
email.
of a favorite in the final though as CT? I mean, not as big, but like, is he still the clear favorite?
Yes.
Yes, he would be because he's in way better shape than he's been in a long time. If you watch his Instagram.
Yeah.
So we have a listener email question.
Okay.
It's titled question period from Paul Shaler. He says, I'm so confident CT won't get eliminated tonight that I'll send this email. And he sent this yesterday at 5:19 Pacific.
Mhm.
Rank these 3 decisions in terms of all-time stupid decisions. Wu taking Tony to final 2. The Challengers team on the ruins not throwing in Casey. Rob saying there is no way CT will make a final and betting that.
I mean, I lost least amount of money compared to these other people.
I would say the number one dumbest move out of all of that has to be Wu and Tony because
Yeah,
it cost
has to
them $1
be.
million.
It's one of those things where there's a clear, it was one decision, and if you change that decision, you win $1 million.
Yes.
Right?
And the way you went, you had no chance.
Correct.
Mhm.
And the thing is with Survivor too, like things can always happen in the challenge. Like someone sprains an ankle, like just whatever. The Survivor, it's about the totality of what you've done to that point. So unless if Wu is like, I don't even know, like he's like Cochrane at the pulpit, like or making his case. I just don't see how he wins that.
He only got
Everyone should
one
watch Survivor
vote.
Kage, by the way. Great season of reality competition TV.
He only got 1 vote.
It
Yeah.
was a shutout almost. Yeah, I'd say that's
Um,
number one. And even though Rob's decision was pretty dumb, I would say that the challengers not throwing in Casey, they literally did what the veterans told them to do instead of play their own game. And that was pretty dumb because it just, once they didn't get rid of Casey, the rest of the season played out exactly the rest of the way it was going to because of that one decision. You
And
change that decision, the trajectory of that season looks very different.
And again, in my defense, like I just don't understand how they're this dumb to not see what's going on here.
That should be the title of this episode. In my defense.
In Rob's defense,
Like, how did they let it get to this point?
I don't know, dude. They just suck.
I think there's 2 aspects to it. And you said it earlier, Devin, they're just trying to keep from losing for another week. That's number 1. Number 2 is they think too much about next season, this season. Like, I get that you don't want to be Russell Hands and just set every bridge on fire as you're going through the season. But there's a way to play the challenge and go, hey, this ain't personal, man. We're in this for $1 million. So I got to do what's best for me at a certain point and just say, hey, no hard feelings. Let's try again next year. I mean, like, you cannot play this game and be successful and not piss anybody off. Johnny Bananas pissed a lot of people off, but he's also got more wins than anybody.
Yeah, the other thing is like you can make up on these things. Like CT was public enemy number 1 last season. They didn't execute on that strategy very well. But plenty of the people that were involved in that were also involved in the Veterans Alliance this season.
Mhm.
And like War of the Worlds 1, like Kara's involved in trying to put Ashley into elimination the next season. They're riding an alliance together all the way to the final. Like it's not set in stone that if you vote him in this season, you can't work with them in the future.
Exactly. I mean, Bananas and CT never worked together, but then you get the Cutthroat bad blood, you get the Rivals bad blood, and then on X's, because DM was CT's partner, they kind of stayed away from each other. And then in Free Agents, they didn't go after each other. On Dirty 30, they were outright working with each other. Like, you can't.
Johnny does vote him in on free agents.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have a bunch of options there, but he does vote him. But yeah, but your point largely though, yeah, like
you can
CT's
work
do what's the best
together
for
next
CT.
season.
CT's not gonna vote you in just because CT's not gonna like refuse to work with you because you just happened to vote him in once he's there. I'm just curious, if you ask them all right now, how many of them think CT's not the favorite in the final? I think
All
they
of
have
them
like
the favorite. All of them think he's the favorite.
what are they doing?
I don't know. I think what they need to do is they really need to change the incentive structure around to provide enough of incentive for them to play to win instead of them making it another week and making another weekly.
But they've changed the prize
already-
structure now where seemingly the only person who gets money is the winner.
Well, see, that's the thing, and that's where we discussed this a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was even last week. Every daily challenge, throw a separate cash pot in. Hey, you win today, you get this, or even better, do rewards. Like if you win, you get an extra half-hour phone call home, or hey, you and so get to go out to dinner. Like incentivize these people if you're there for 10 weeks to win, so that they're not. That you got to give them something here to make them try harder.
They need to do that. What I'm talking about is I think they need to make them try harder to win the game.
Okay, that's different.
But I think they need to do what you're talking about too. But they need to make it. They need to set it up so they try hard to win instead of. And I don't know if that's reducing the amount that they get per week and shifting some of that money toward winning the game. But
the money's already so like. You get a million, share of $1 million for winning. Let's assume it's 500K, and you get nothing for second. Like they've already done that.
No, but what you do get is you get a good amount of money each week, right? I mean, Leroy talked about that on on the last Bananas podcast that he was on.
I think at that point, like casting's already enough of an issue. Like I think if you start moving some of their pay structure around, like a lot of them would not be happy with that. I guess you could just put in their appearance fee generally, but
I think there has to be some way that you can incentivize them more to try and.
I don't know, like making them read Machiavelli beforehand, or not even read Machiavelli. Make them read a chess rule set.
There has to be. I mean, I've thought about this for 30 seconds, right? There has to be a way.
There is, and you know what it is? You cast better people. Watch episode 4 of fucking All Stars. Everybody's there to fucking win.
And it's not even like that's been like in War of the Worlds 1 or even War of the Worlds 2. Like they had a brain.
I would argue
even last season, I thought their strategy to do it was poor, but they recognized it was an issue that CT was there clearly. Like remember how upset all of them were with Nani at the end for picking him, or picking Kyle and not picking him so CT wasn't live. Like
Kyle especially was upset about that.
Yeah, but like I think that this is somewhat of an anomalous situation. Hopefully.
I hope so, but I mean, I think it really does boil down to cast people who show up to win and not try to get more social media followers. That's what this really boils down to. Because again, go watch All Stars episode 4. Everybody in that fucking house is trying to win. Every single one of them. And it shows. Enough said.
All right, let's do power rankings. What episode is this?
17.
We didn't do them.
We
last
skipped
week,
them last week because of time.
All right. So Trace, you go first.
All right. CT Kyle Nelson. Why not? And then females, I think at this point you have to go Tori, Casey, Emmy. If it shakes out individual, I just don't think Emmy can win on her own, period. But I can't put her in there.
You wouldn't put Nani over Emmy?
Oh, Yeah, I would do that. So yeah, Tori, Casey, Nani. I just don't think Emmy can win it on her own.
Oh,
I
Amanda
forgot.
now.
So
There's-
and then overall, I mean CT, Tori, Casey.
Yeah, I think mine's gonna look pretty much identical to that.
Yeah, I think we're all looking pretty.
We're all pretty
similar.
much in the same boat.
I'll
here.
go CT, Nelson, Emmanuel, and then
Hold on, CT Nelson. Okay,
Emmanuel. Then for the woman, Tori, Casey, Nani. Then overall, I'll go CT, Tori, Nelson.
all right, I will go Tori, Casey, Nani. And then CT Nelson. Neither of you had Emmanuel?
I had him in third.
He has him
Sorry,
third.
good.
There's just not enough info. I don't know how he's going to do if he's on his own.
I
with
think
the
that's a
puzzle.
benefit in some ways. We know the other ones suck.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
just-
CT Emmanuel Nelson. And then for overall, I'll go CT Tori AC. All right. What else do we want to talk about?
go watch All Star so we can talk about it tomorrow.
Okay. So we will cover All Stars midday tomorrow. That should be out late in the day tomorrow afternoon, early night. And then we'll be back again next week to cover the first episode of the final and the final players eliminated on episodes 18 of Spies, Lies, and Allies. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.